At work, I was struggling to get my API responses to work. I was able to authenticate successfully to the server, but then as soon as I sent a message to my service, it just blew up. I looked, and there was no cookie there. What happened to my auth cookie? So today what we're going to do is we're going to protect our cookies from Postman. In Postman, often you'll want to test your APIs, and it's highly likely they might be hosted on different domains. So obviously, I can't show you my work APIs, and I don't have a home lab with multiple domains set up on it. But what we're going to work with today is this .NET 6 web API that I'm using as a test. And our first route we have grabs a cookie. This cookie will expire in 15 seconds, and it will randomly assign a value to this test cookie. Our other controller is just a route here that will grab the cookie and then spit out the value of that cookie. That's really all we need to prove that this works. The only other thing I'm going to show you is that I have basically set up my local hosts on two domains, dev.com and prod.com in my host file. So this way when we run the service, local hosts, dev.com and prod.com are all hitting the same instance. So really quickly how these messages work again is if I send this message, it'll just send me back a cookie, and then it'll have a response body of cookie set. And this other message will just take that cookie and then set back the value. So here you can see that the value starts out with 155. If I go back, rerun this one, and then rerun this one again, it changes that cookie value every time we send it. It also expires every 15 seconds, but we're not going to wait around to see that here. So jumping over to Postman, this is our auth request. This is our message that we're going to send, and this is our other environment where we're going to lose our cookie. So this is how it works. So if we send it here, we're going to get a cookie sent. Right here, we're going to see that the value was set, and when we send it over here, there's no cookie. And when I look at the headers here, I can see that this cookie was set here. And over here, when I look at these headers, you can see that there's no cookie here. This one's for later, but this one is the one that's automatically set when you're on the same domain. And right now, these are all sending to localhost, and this one's setting to dev.com. I can do the same thing if I send this to prod.com. So if I send this one, this adds that header for the cookie even to this request, because it sends them to all of them on that domain. So then I send that one here, I get that cookie value back, but still dev.com doesn't work. So the first thing you can do that you might see is that there's cookies over here. So if I open this, I type dev.com, and then I just add a cookie. So then I'm just going to set this value here to be something like that. So let's send it. And now you can see that it did send a cookie, but it's a hard-coded value, so anytime you get a new cookie, you basically have to take it over here, copy it, and paste it into this cookies thing, which is kind of a hassle because even to edit it, you have to click in here and do all that. So that's not great. So the next thing I tried is I came in here and I kind of hard-coded this value here. I figured it's less clicks and I could just put it here, which it'll work, but again, now we just have another hard-coded value. And that's not going to work when you're doing an authenticated login and it's going back to a server and it needs a dynamic response. So this just wasn't going to work. So what I really want is to set this variable and have it dynamically update every time I receive a cookie. So to update this cookie, what I need is a variable. So let's go over here to the collection. We're going to go to the variables tab, and I'm going to set this cookie variable here. So it's going to be set to an initial value of test cookie equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have a variable name of cookie. If I go back to my dev message, using binding syntax similar to React, you have two curly braces, the variable name, and then two more curly braces. And this is set to the collection, so it works for everything inside of this one collection. I don't necessarily want it to work for outside in like the global scope, so I make sure that it's on this collection only. And now what we need is we need a script to set this. Inside my prod message, my auth message, what I really want this to do is after it runs and I get my cookie back, I want this to set my cookie in that variable. So the test tab is actually perfect for this because this runs after you receive a response and I'll have my cookie. So we're gonna run this here, and what Postman does is it has this PM cookie jar, which is the Postman cookie jar that handles all the cookie management. And using a little bit of JavaScript code and you doing get all and the name of the cookie you want to grab, I'm then able to log it to the console along with adding it to the collection variables. Using this funky notation, I can set the Postman collection variables cookie variable to the string of the cookie. So now when I run this here, you can see that the cookie should be set. So we added the tests that we need, but there's a problem. Postman won't just let us access this cookie without us setting something first. So if we go in here inside of cookies and we go to whitelist domains, we can then set whitelisting for localhost, prod.com, and dev.com. So now we've set that we can whitelist the localhost, prod.com, and dev.com, so we can programmatically access the cookies, and you can learn more about that here. So now when I send this request, we can see that in the console I have the test cookie set, and if I come up here and check this variable, you can also see that it's no longer that default value. So now if I come back over to my message here, you'll see it sends the actual value even though it's sent it to the dev domain and not the prod domain. Now there's just one more thing. This message will still time out because the cookie value only lasts for so long. What would really be nice is if I didn't have to send two messages. If I didn't have to come over here, click auth, then come over here and click that I'm actually sending. Because it's going to time out every 15 seconds, so the cookie wouldn't actually be valid. In a real scenario, you might have 100 different messages in a collection you want to send. Each one might need to authenticate every time. You might have 100 messages in a collection, and you really don't want to authenticate before every message this way. You kind of just wanted to do it on its own. Luckily, Postman has your back. If you come into pre-request script, what this section will do on the collection is before any message is sent on the collection, it'll automatically run the script for you. So here what it's going to do is it's going to go to my prod URL, it's going to set up the cookie jar, it's going to send that get message, grab the cookie, and then do that set just like we were doing on the auth script. So now we don't even need this auth script anymore, though you could still keep it for testing. So now what we're going to do is we're no longer going to use that auth message, but we're just going to send to dev and see that this cookie value changes without us re-authenticating. We can then send these messages. So you can see that the cookie value changed every time. We got a new cookie received, and then we got the get message sent. You can also see the message sent to the auth for us automatically. So it doesn't matter which message we hit, we'll always get a new auth cookie, and we'll always get a new value updated here. Give the video a like if it helped you. Subscribe to help the channel reach our 1,000 subscriber goal.